I can see anything. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Abiral Shrestha. First of all, thank you everyone for coming here. It's an absolute honor being here. Talking a little bit about myself, I'm Abiral Shrestha. I'm from Kathmandu, Nepal. Have anyone been to Nepal before? No? Okay, it's okay. It's a beautiful country. So I'm co-founder at ThreatNix and also organizer of ThreatCon, Nepal's biggest cybersecurity conference. And I've been doing bug bounty for the past 7 years, mostly in my free time as a part-time bug bounty hunter. Despite doing it part-time, I've been able to rank the position of top 25 on the HackerOne. So I mostly do automated bug hunting. While I did some manual bug hunting in my early days, I'm focusing more towards automation these days. So this is me moving towards automation. This talk is based on my experience of building the bug bounty automation, and it is divided into two parts. The first part dives into various subdomain enumeration methods and discusses how even some basic subdomain enumeration technique can find nice vulnerabilities when it is executed on scale. And the second part of talk dives into various ways we can scale up our bug bounty workflow. So talking about the importance of automation in bug bounty, my goal doing bug bounty has always been finding the maximum amount of vulnerability, spending the least amount of time. And with automation, we can do that. Instead of just focusing on one asset at a time, we can scale up our automation to cover millions or even billions of the assets. So talking about importance of subdomain enumeration, on any large organization with a lot of people working there from a lot of offices, on multiple projects and multiple time zones, they quickly lose track of the asset they own. By investing on the subdomain enumeration technique, we can find these assets. These assets are often gold mine for bug bounty hunter, and by uncovering these assets, we increase the likelihood of finding these often neglected vulnerabilities. So moving towards passive enumeration. Passive enumeration is all about collecting information from the target's infrastructure without directly interacting with the target. Instead, we rely on the publicly available data sources. MS and Subfinder are the staple tool for bug bounty hunting and mainly passive enumeration. I'm pretty sure the audience members are quite familiar with these tools. However, my goal here is to still emphasize on the importance of the continuous monitoring and continuous subdomain takeover. I'll show some quick examples later on the slide. So these Subfinder and MS gather information from a variety of data sources like GitHub, or search engines, certificate transparency log, some free API services, and even some paid APIs. So I run around 80 instances of these Subfinder and MS. So it's not possible for me or even other bug bounty hunter to run all these instances 24/7 with all the paid API keys configured, because these paid API keys are mostly targeted for corporate use. They have limited quotas and are quite expensive, so it's not financially feasible. Hence, I run most of them on the free APIs. That said, I do have a separate instance of Subfinder running separately with the paid APIs key configured. That way, I can get the best of both worlds without breaking the bank. Now, moving towards an example of a vulnerability I found with the continuous monitoring. So it was 2024. November, and in the around 5 p.m. my automated Subfinder scanning found a subdomain, and as a part of my vulnerability scanning process, new subdomains are sent to the nuclei for scanning, and nuclei found that it has an XXE vulnerability. It had CVID 2019. At first, I thought, when I received this notification, I thought it's a false positive because it was 2024. And this program was like a really old program with 10 million in the bounties already being paid. So I thought maybe this is a false positive. However, upon further investigating, it turned out to be a valid vulnerability. Using the XXE, I was able to gain remote code execution. I first gained admin access by reading the auth token of the server using XXE, then uploaded a JSP file to get remote code execution. The server was running on AWS, so I was also able to get the AWS metadata credential. I quickly reported it to the program, and they rewarded me a bounty. Another example of such continuous monitoring is from AMAS. Again, AMAS is also running across multiple instances on my servers, and it found a new subdomain. Again, new subdomains are sent to Nuclei for scanning. It found that it had heap dump. I received notification for it, and then checking it, I found that it had the authorization token of the user being leaked. I reported it to the program and got sweet bounty and a bonus. So moving towards active enumeration, it's a more direct and aggressive approach of subdomain enumeration. It interacts directly with the client's DNS infrastructure. Subdomain brute forcing is quite simple. We start with a word list and then create a list of potential subdomains, then brute force it. Using some tool like Pure DNS, we need a list of word list and a list of resolvers. So when resolving subdomains for subdomain brute forcing, we are resolving millions and billions of DNS record. So it is very important to send this DNS request to a large number of valid resolvers. Having too few resolvers would lead to the rate limitation from these resolvers, as well as having a bad resolver would lead to invalid data. One example of such invalid resolver would be when they resolve a certain domain that do not exist. Having such non-existing subdomains on our list would be very bad, as it would negatively impact the future scanning process and lead to wastage of computing resources. So DNS validator is an excellent tool for filtering out the bad DNS resolvers. When we run DNS resolver, it eliminates the bad resolvers and outputs only the good resolvers for us. If you do not want to run DNS validator yourself, I've been personally running DNS validator and for the past 4 years and uploading its output to the GitHub repository multiple times a day. So feel free to check it out. Now, word list is the another important factor for subdomain brute forcing. While we already have a list of good word lists from Asset Node or Checklist or ThreatNix, investing time on creating your own word list can pay off. For example, I was recently creating a word list from Merkle Map DNS. So Merkle Map is like a huge DNS with 40 billion records, and it's 40 GB compressed and 400 GB uncompressed. So I initially tried using my MacBook Pro to create a word list by splitting the DNS records from it. However, even after running it for like 3-4 days, it wasn't completed. Then I moved my operation to Google BigQuery, and Google BigQuery was able to complete it in a couple of minutes. The resulting word list is present in my GitHub repository. So I did some DNS brute forcing on my bug bounty targets with this word list, and I was able to find a couple of vulnerabilities. Again, moving towards subdomain brute forcing, let's assume that the subdomains on the left side of the screen are the subdomains of example.com, which we found using passive enumeration technique. And let's assume that the subdomains on the example.com, subdomains of example.com on the right side of the screen are the subdomains that we couldn't find but are still the valid subdomains of example.com. So in order to find these subdomains of example.com on the right with brute forcing, we cannot just simply brute force example.com at root level. We need to be brute forcing staging.example.com as well as internal.example.com. So however, we cannot brute force every single third level subdomain on the list, because there are subdomains like image.example.com and files.example.com which do not have any significant subdomain here. So we need to wait to filter out only the top occurring third level subdomain. This is where a tool like DCIP comes in handy. So in this example, we are using the -f flag to get the third level subdomain and -top2 to get only the top 2 subdomains. The resulting output can be used to further brute force. Okay. Now, if we look at the list of the subdomains from example.com here, we do not see any clear pattern and a way to brute force. However, upon looking it deeper, we can see that 3 clear pattern emerges. So it's not uncommon for companies to name their subdomain using certain naming nomenclature. And I had this idea, like what if we could brute force here to get more subdomains. However, I quickly discarded this idea, thinking that it wouldn't work because there would be too many patterns to brute force. I had this idea like a couple of years ago, but never gave it a try. However, while I was preparing for this talk, I thought of giving it a try, and the results were quite good. I quickly wrote a tool called Patternizer. It extracts the pattern from the given subdomain list, which can be used for further brute forcing after sorting it on the basis of occurrence. So the results were quite good. I found the instance of DBWA on a bug bounty program. For the audience member who are unfamiliar with DBWA is like vulnerable web application used for practicing web application vulnerabilities. One of the lesson on the DBWA is command injection, so we got a quick remote code execution on the server. Other vulnerability, I also found 2 instances of subdomain takeover on a different program. I found a total of 6,000 new subdomains. 6,000 new subdomains doesn't sound a lot, but please keep in mind that these 6,000 subdomains were not found by any other bug hunting or subdomain enumeration methodology. So finally moving towards permutation. If a company have subdomain like admin.example.com, it is likely that they will have subdomain dev.example.com or admin.dev.example.com and so on. Similarly, if it have subdomain like storage1.example.com, they are likely to have storage2.example.com, storage3.example.com and so on. So tools like ripgen, GoTrator and GoDNS does exactly that. It takes a list of word list and permutes it using the predefined word list and generates the output like on the right side. So these subdomain can be resolved using tool like PureDNS to find out which are valid. However, as we can see that for a simple list of 3 subdomain, we have like more than 20 subdomains here. So when running these tools like ripgen on a large company, it would have like GBs of subdomain that we need to resolve. The subdomain list would be so large that we won't be able to efficiently resolve it even with a lot of scaling. So this is where regulator comes in handy. Instead of just permuting randomly on the basis of the given word list, it analyzes the provided subdomain, sees some regex on it, analyzes the pattern, and then outputs a much smaller but a compact word list that are more compact subdomain list that are more likely to have valid subdomain.